Hey, Adam Hoeksema here from ProjectionHub. So in this video, I'm going to be helping to answer how do you value a business that's unprofitable? Now, I help a lot of small business owners who are looking to acquire a small business, and maybe they are looking to use an SBA loan to help purchase the business. So my background, I was actually an SBA lender for 12 years, made 1,500 SBA loans during my time as executive director of an organization called Bankable. And so I have a lot of experience on the SBA lending side of things. And so when I'm reviewing these deals for clients who are hoping to buy a business, I really do hate to be the bearer of bad news for them because I know how hard it is to build a business and you want to believe that it has value. But the reality is, from the SBA's perspective or an SBA lender's perspective, a business that doesn't produce any profit or doesn't produce any cash flow is effectively worthless. You're not going to be able to get an SBA loan for a business that is not profitable. And I'm going to explain a little bit in more detail why that's the case. If you have a situation where the business owns assets, so let's say it has equipment, it has maybe some inventory, some commercial real estate as a building or something like that, it may be that the SBA lender would give some value to the assets. And so you'd effectively just be buying the assets of the business, and you could probably place a discount on those assets. And really that's how you'd price the business. But most of the time, the business owner, the seller, they perceive that their business has a lot more value than just like a fire sale liquidation of their assets, right? They've worked hard to build this business and they put a purchase price there that reflects the hard work that they've done. But unfortunately, if the business is not cash flow positive, if it's not profitable, the SBA lender is going to underwrite how much of a loan you can afford to pay based on the historical performance of that business. And so I've got this little calculator tool here, and I'll put a link in the description of the video below to this calculator. It's very simple though, and I just use this as a way to get a quick understanding of how much of an SBA loan you might be able to acquire. The simple math here is just to take the monthly cash flow of the business. So the business did $240,000 of profit last year. You just take that 240 divided by 12, and that'd give you $20,000 of monthly cash flow, right? And for an SBA acquisition loan, typically the terms are 10% and 120 months. And so we can do the math then to determine how much of an SBA loan you could afford based on that $20,000 worth of cash flow. So the typical SBA lender is going to require a debt service coverage ratio of 1.25 or above. And what that means is that you have $1.25 of earnings or profit for every dollar of debt service or loan payment. So if you have $20,000 in profit, what you would do to determine your maximum loan payment that you're able to afford would be to take that $20,000, divide by 1.25, and that's going to tell you that you can afford a $16,000 per month loan payment, okay? And then we can do some fancy math here, little equation that will then help us back into, okay, what is the maximum loan amount that we can have with a 10% interest rate and a 10-year term where we would have that $16,000 roughly monthly payment. So that amounts to $1.2 million. So here's the deal though. If you said monthly cash flow zero, look what happens. Maximum loan amount, zero, right? Monthly cash flow, maybe $1,000, okay? Maximum loan about $60,000, right? So the challenge that we often see is that we have clients, sellers who maybe they were profitable in the past, but then they're getting ready to retire. They're not really all there, right? They're like, they've got one foot out the door. They want to sell the business and they've let the business start to deteriorate and it's no longer profitable. It was in the past, but it's no longer profitable. Unfortunately, they've kind of let go of all the profit or all the value of the business because they've let it become a unprofitable business. At which point your best route is just to sell it for assets. Now there's one other possible scenario. You're not going to be able to get approved for an SBA loan, but what you could do is if you're the buyer and you say, I'm willing to pay $1 million for this business, SBA is not going to lend it because it wasn't profitable last year or doesn't cash flow, doesn't cash flow for $1 million loan. So what you could do is agree to a seller note with the seller. So what that means is you're going to pay that seller. They're basically going to finance the business. So you would take over the business as the buyer and you're going to pay the seller a monthly payment until you pay off that, $1 million or whatever the purchase price is. So the seller's not getting any cash up front and they are taking the risk and, kind of putting their money where their mouth is. If they think that business is worth $1 million, well, they're going to give over the business to you as the buyer without receiving any cash, and you're going to pay them monthly through that seller note. So that is the the most common approach when you have a situation that it doesn't cash flow for an SBA loan, but you as a buyer still really want to pay that purchase price and the seller really wants to earn that $1 million valuation. A seller note's probably your best option. So I offer a free SBA review. And so I'm going to put a link in the description of the video below. And what you can do, there's a simple form. You can fill out this form, tell me some information about your deal. You could submit some financials so I can really kind of dig in and dive into the deal. And I can just give you some candid feedback on the deal, whether I think it could qualify for SBA financing or not, how much I think it might be able to qualify for, whether you'd be a good fit as a potential buyer for that. So I hope that's been helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out at support@projectionhub.com. All right, thanks.